Hello, and you are welcome to another episode of Sitting with the Elders. My name is Toyin-Oyemade. Now, Sitting with the Elders is a show that was conceptualized to give us a platform where we can sit down with our elder statesmen and women and learn from their experiences of life and living. We thought that it was important to be able to glean from the wisdom that they've carried for 70, 80, 90 years, so that, like they say, experience is the best teacher, but we don't have to have all the experiences by ourselves, so that we can learn from the experiences of others who have gone ahead of us and we can make informed decisions. And I welcome you once again to the show, and today I am very excited because I'm going to have a very interesting and engaging conversation with an elder statesman extraordinaire. He's a corporate guru. He's an astute businessman. He's a leader of leaders. He's a chairman of chairmen. He is Mr. Felix Ohiwerei. Thank you for bringing us into your home and allowing us to have this conversation with you.
My pleasure.
So we'll go straight into this, and it is such a privilege to be here. There are many questions that we have, but somehow we'll get through a lot of them. But let's start from the very beginning. Give us sort of like a background into you, your life. We know that you are 82 years old. Growing up, where you grew up, values that shaped you at that time.
Okay. You're welcome to yourself.
Thank you, sir.
To this home. I'm from Edo State, and I'm from Uzeba in Edo State. I started my life at home in Uzeba there. Then about the age of 9, my brother was then working in the East, came and took me to the East. So I had most of my elementary education at Owerri, and also went to Owerri. I also went to secondary school in Owerri. I left Owerri after school certificate and came to Ibadan. At Ibadan, I went to Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology for 2 years, and from there to UI, where I read geography. When I graduated, I taught for some months before going to start a career with Nigerian Breweries, where I had my career.
Thank you so much for that, sir. And now lead me right into my first question. So you studied geography in school, and you ended up first a teacher and then into Nigerian Breweries. That, for some people, will be an interesting transition, and many young people have this, I study something in school, but it's not what I do with my life. Why and how did you make that transition?
While I was in university, I had always wanted to work in the private sector. Teaching was not my first choice by any means. And so when I graduated, even before I graduated, some companies came to UI and to conduct interviews. So I actually started looking for a placement in the private sector from the year of my graduation. And in fact, shortly after graduating, the job started coming in. But you see, the fact, yes, I read geography, but I never wanted to teach. I'd always had my eye on the private sector.
On the private sector. So even if you were studying a particular course, you knew that...
Well, yeah, yes. What did the course do for you? Well, the degree disciplines your mind. That's what it does.
Fantastic.
You get a thought process. You are more disciplined in your approach to things. The degree itself is useful. It's never wasted. Never wasted. Knowledge is never wasted. So it happens even today. Many people who are medical doctors end up working in banks.
Exactly.
Or end up doing something else. I know engineers who are bankers.
Yes.
I even know a doctor who's a banker. who is in the financial sector.
So regardless, the degree is never wasted and that knowledge is never lost.
It's never lost.
Fantastic. But then how did you then develop the new skill sets for the new place that you then moved into?
Good question. When I went into Nigerian Breweries, my training started from the shop floor. What I mean from the shop floor, doing very basic things. And of course, gradually that moved you up. I was as employed as a graduate trainee, okay, trainee manager. In spite of that, I had to go through the training from the shop floor.
Wow.
And that took about 6 months.
Okay.
That took about 6 months.
Now, it's interesting because you eventually rose to the topmost top
Yes.
at Nigerian Breweries, starting from the very first level.
Yeah.
How did that trajectory happen?
Well, I tell you, Nigerian Breweries was such a well-structured company that even as at the time you take in trainees, you see signs of where that trainee is likely to go in the future. So there are some who are placed on the fast track,
I see.
and there was quite a few placed on only a few are placed on the fast track. And you remain on that path as long as you perform to the level that is expected of you. If you don't, you drop out. I didn't know this. So I had my training, I had my first job, and I found that I was being sent on many courses that I didn't see directly related to the job I was doing. I didn't quite understand why. But those who were planning these things must have seen something. They surely did see something that they wanted to develop. And I got very, very rapid promotions, very, very rapid. I joined at the age of 24, going to 25. And after 12 years in the business, I was already an alternate director.
12 years?
Yes.
That's amazing. Do you think, now many people watching this would say, but sir, that was in those days where life was structured and Nigeria was this and this was that. Is that still, in your opinion, is that still possible in this day and age?
I believe so. You see, many people, it's not how long you have been on the job, it's how well you do the job. How well you do it, how creative you are, the things that are, you may call the things outside the box that you bring on the table.
Yes.
That determines how rapidly you move up.
Besides the job, are there any other factors, values, principles that you believe also contributed to your success in your career?
Oh, clearly my background had a lot to do with it. My father was a very strict disciplinarian. He was a catechist, straightforward. You can't tell a lie and get away with it, never. So right from childhood, it was ingrained in me and my siblings that we must always tell the truth. Then I went to a school, a Ohiwerei Government Secondary School, excellent school. And we had a very instructive school motto.
Yes.
Which says, work hard, play hard,
Keep straight.
keep straight. When wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost. And that was actually, for me, building on the things I brought from home. And we have very strict teachers. So, you see, moral upstanding was an important factor.
Wow.
That's your character. It was very important in those days. Intelligence, yes. Ability to pass exams, yes. But the first thing anybody asks about you when you went anywhere is, who are his parents? What home does he come from?
Wow.
And I know that when we were growing up, and the first thing my parents will check on when you say you have a friend, so check on that background. And because, of course, we were growing up, we were very small then, we were in the village and the rest of everybody knew everybody. And if there was anybody who came from a background that was not correct, was not the type that they wanted you to associate with, they had a way of getting you off that line.
So, we read somewhere that you said your father was your first mentor.
Yes.
While you had.
Yes.
That you had growing up. And I know you've alluded now to his strong character.
Yes.
But besides his strong disciplinary character, were there other things as well that as a father?
Love. Yes, it was very loving. He cared for all of us. He cared so much for my mother that when I grew up, I started wondering, how can a man in his time care for a wife this way? In my father's lifetime, my mother never ate a bar.
Okay.
He always make sure that the yam for pounding, they always make sure there was enough yam to take care of her. Yeah, for her. Never. My mother never took up an axe to cut wood.
Wow.
And I tell you the one that actually is most astonishing. My mother didn't like to see blood. So anytime chicken was killed, whatever it was or whatever, my father did the dressing for her.
In that time?
That time.
That is amazing.
That time.
And I like
and so we saw these things. They influenced us, absolutely, naturally. You know?
I find that so wonderful. And I would relate this to family, because you were married for 52 years.
Yes.
You got married in 1966.
Yes.
In these days where marriages seem to, you marry today and tomorrow is another story, what would you say are those things that make for a long-lasting, happy, successful marriage?
Well, I saw it when I was small.
You did.
Care for your wife. Love her. Tend her. That's what a woman needs. You know? So right from day one, I knew the type of family life I would like to have. Even before I got married, anyway. because I saw something at home that I loved. And so it affected me, and I carried it on. I mean, even before we got married, my wife knew what I was earning, and once we got married, we sat down, we worked out how we're going to use our income.
Wow.
My salary. So I hid nothing from her. I had a joint account with her. But I tell you what's very surprising. All the 52 years, my wife never one day asked what the bank account was, never one day issued a check. I begged her to issue checks. I said no. Bring the money home. So she knew what we had, she knew what we were capable of doing, and her demand, the truth of it is that it was such a wonderful relationship, but she never made any demand on me on such. Like, buy me gold, buy me this, buy me that. No, but she knew that I would do what I have to do.
So I'll go straight into fatherhood, flowing from that question. And I know that you had a great example as a father. And I'm trying to also use this to talk about work-life balance, because we're also a very busy man growing your career. How did you have time for the family, for your children and for your wife in the midst of growing your career?
That's a very interesting question because it takes my mind back to the things that changed me. And I must say that the children themselves played a very major part in how we related as a family. My wife, of course, she was very caring. She knew the nature of my job even before we got married. She allowed me to do what I had to do. And because I was working in the breweries, because I had to socialize a lot at the beginning, one day I came home late and my wife was waiting for me, very anxious. Those days telephones were not readily available. I was wondering what happened to me. And when she came, when I got home, she asked, I actually saw her waiting at the veranda. I drove in, I came out, I apologized for being late. And then when she realized that I had gone out with my friends and the rest of it, she wasn't happy. I could see it. She had not eaten, she was waiting for me. In fact, we always had dinner together. All through. And I knew I had hurt her. And of course, by then, I was young, working in the breweries. I had gone out drinking with some of my friends, and she knew I had some drinks. And she made a statement, said, so you left me waiting here for you and you were out drinking with your friends. That really touched my heart. And I felt sorry. So I tried subsequently not to go out for what was going on. I would let her know. But then we started having children. We had the first, we had the second, and we had the third. The third child, one day I came back from work, I had a bath, and I picked up my key to go out. I was passing through the sitting room, the baby was there, was crawling then. I tried to carry him once, he refused. Twice, he refused. third time, I said, what's wrong with you? And the small little 3-year-old must be then. Brother said to me, Daddy, if you will stay home, he will know you. And he will let you carry him.
3-year-old.
The key fell from my hand. And I sank into a chair, the nearest chair I could find. When I recovered myself, I went to where my wife was in the bedroom. I said, see what this boy said to me. Now, later on in life, particularly when I got to know Jesus, I knew that it wasn't that child who was speaking to me. It was God speaking through him to me. And I was losing out on something. From that day, my wife and I ate dinner with the children.
Wow.
We ate dinner with the children. Even when we had dinner appointments going out, we'll make sure that we're around, that they had their dinner, sit with them, they had their dinner.
And then you were good for your appointment.
Now that basically changed my life. And it meant to me that if I was not around as much as I should be, I would not be the father that I ought to be. The type of father my father was to us. Because for those days, okay, we were young, we were then in the village, there was no light, so everybody went to bed early, so that in any case, he was always there when we came back from school and the rest of it. So I changed. And I started taking them, the driver, to school in the morning, picking them from school. But when we were living in Apapa, it was much easier for me because the school was in Apapa there, Corona. Drop them Corona, come to the office, lunchtime, rush there, pick them up, go home with them, sat with them, had lunch with them. And then dinner again. You see, once my daughter, her birthday, well, I was home, probably not as early as I should have been, but as far as I was concerned, she had a bad day and everything went well. But then I went to her school. Is it what they call it, open day, whatever. And I was going through her work and I looked at her essay, the essay they write in school. So I read this one that said, such and such a day was my birthday. Mommy cooked, mommy baked it, and got a cake for me. I put everything on the table, put the cake on the table, waiting for Daddy. She said, we waited and waited and waited, and finally Daddy came, and we're all very happy. So again, I said to myself, serious.
Wow.
So that also meant to me that it's not just good to be around and eat with them, but you have to be around at the right time. I didn't say a word to her because what she reported was absolutely correct, but it checked me.
So for someone watching this, now I like the fact that you sort of compared this. So in your father's time, everybody was in the village,
yes.
Life was easier. In your time, I mean, life had sort of changed. You were a businessman, you were going to the office. Now, in these days, it's so much more different. You're thinking of Lagos traffic.
Let me just tell you what that also taught me. That you really have to, irrespective of what's happening in the office, you have to balance your time between career and family. In the final analysis, the family is more important than the career.
Sir, we need to say that again. In the final analysis,
the home is more important than the career.
Wow.
Because if somebody built me up, helped to build me up, to do by the grace of God what I am, I have a duty to do the same to my children. In fact, to try and improve upon it. So I knew from that, God was very kind. God was very kind to me. So I then knew that I had to balance this, my career, the need of the work, and the need of my home. Okay? And the truth of the matter is, if you came home and you were unhappy because of what you found or how you are treated, you cannot go to work happy.
True.
And if you don't go to work happy, you cannot give of your best.
True.
So God just, in a very subtle manner, taught me that I really have to do what I have to do first. And the primary thing was for the family.
So
It's also helped in my relationship.
Yeah.
Because in the office, if somebody said his son or his daughter was ill and that to be taken to the hospital, immediately,
You let them, fantastic.
because if the person doesn't do that, he can't give you of the best. He can't give you of his or her best.
There's so much to learn from what you said as a family person and even as an employer of labor. But for a young man or young woman watching this now, we're saying, Daddy, I understand you, but in this Lagos life, my office is in Lekki, my house is in Ikeja. I'm in 3 hours traffic in the morning, 4 hours traffic in the night. I have to make ends meet, you know, the reality of life. What would your advice be to them in balancing this?
That is a tough one, because I'm aware of it. I tell you what happened in our case. One, I was traveling a lot too on my job. So one occasion I was out of the country, I was in London. My wife was working in WAEC then. And she had a good career in WAEC. She phoned me while I was in London and said, Felix, I have resigned. And I said, what went wrong? He said, nothing went wrong. But I saw something that made me very unhappy. She said she came home after work. Mark, if I were in, I would have taken the children from school. I would have had lunch together. They had not even had lunch. They had not done their homework. She was then 39 years old. She resigned her job to take care of the children.
So, mommy left work. What happened from then?
Well, she left work and she was out of work until all the children went to secondary school.
Like how many years did this take?
How many years? The children all went to secondary school at 10, 11.
Okay.
And the youngest at the time she left work was about 3.
So that's like 7, 8 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Then she did. And then later on, she and 2 other friends of hers, also educationists, opened a remedial school, which did very well.
So, if I hear you right, sir, what you're saying is sometimes you have to make a huge sacrifice for the children at a certain point in time.
Yes.
Knowing that that thing is also only seasonal.
Yes.
Seasons will change and
Of
you
course.
can pick up your life again.
Exactly. I remember what I said before, and this is a very, very a principle that you really have to, think about and decide to adopt or not, you always have a choice between your career and your home. For me, the first choice
It's
was my home, my family. And without even sitting down with my wife to discuss this, because of the way we live as a family, you can see now that even when I was not here, she saw something she saw that was not in keeping with the way we want to bring up the children, and decided to abandon her job.
Wow. Okay, God will help all of us.
Amen.
So I'm going to now go into the next question, which
Matthew,
was...
I'm not recommending this to everybody. People have to find their own solutions.
Exactly. Exactly. It works differently for different people. Know your priority.
Yeah, exactly.
And know how you want to make your decisions.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Thank you, sir. Let's quickly talk about mentoring or role models that you've had. I know that you've said your father had a strong influence on your life, but are there other people? Okay.
My eldest brother. Yes. And my brother was a mentor and a role model to me. People like late Dr. Christopher Abebe, Dr. Michael Omolayole, Professor Akim Abogunje. My life has also been influenced by the things I've seen and admired in people like Parental Williams. And of course, my spiritual life has been very influenced by my exposure to my father in the Lord, Pastor E. Adeboye. So these people have influenced my life. So I do, of course, is a mentor and also a father in the Lord.